Welcome to the sixth video in the series about genes, and today we're going to be looking at genetic questions. So today we're going to look at how you'd answer a standard genetic question. So the first part of this question, if there is a single gene that controls eye colour and the brown allele is dominant over the blue, then what would be the possible genotypes of a genetic cross between two heterozygous individuals? And part two, what is the likelihood of them having two blue-eyed children? Now, there's a couple of things that you need to establish here. This would be perhaps a typical GCSE question, and they're saying that there's only two possible alleles, blue or brown. In reality, there's many more, but for the purposes of this, we'll stick with two. Okay, so we first have to establish the genotypes of the two parents, and it says they're heterozygous, so that means both of the alleles need to be different, and in this case you've got an allele for brown and an allele for blue, so the letter that we'll use will be uppercase B and lowercase b. So in the case of the mother and father, their genotypes, because they're heterozygous, are big B, small b. And they both have the phenotype for brown eyes. So phenotype again is how it's expressed. In this case would be brown eyes. Another type of phenotype might be blue eyes. And because both parents are heterozygous, we can establish, and they're brown eyed, we can establish that the brown eye allele, the big B, is the dominant one. So big B represents the brown, or the brown allele, and the small b, because it's recessive, is lowercase, which represents the blue. So we're going to go on now to draw a Punnett square of the different possibilities available. So with the father's gametes, because his genotype is big B, small b, then his gametes can either contain big B, which is the allele for brown, or the small b, which is the allele for blue. The mother's gametes the same because she's heterozygous as well. Half of her eggs will contain the big B or the brown allele, and half of them will contain the small b for the blue allele. And then the offspring can have these different possibilities of genotypes. So the possible genotypes that are available are big B, big B, big B, small b, and small b, small b. You'll notice that I haven't included the big B, or the small b, big B here, because it's exactly the same as this one. Hence, no need to write it down. So that takes care of the first part of the question. So if we go back to the second part, what is the likelihood of them having two blue-eyed children? So looking at the answer here, or looking at the Punnett square here, the likelihood of them having one child who's blue-eyed is 1 in 4, so 1 out of 4. So therefore the chance of them having two blue-eyed children will be 1 in 4 times 1 in 4, which is a 1 in 16 chance. Because 4 times 4 is 16, and therefore it's reasonably unlikely. Now you can either express this as a fraction, or you could put it as a decimal. So 1 in 16 is 0.0625. Now they could change the question somewhat for the second part, and so the second part of the question, what's the likelihood of them having two blue-eyed children? They could change this question subtly by asking this. If their first child has blue eyes, what is the chance of their next child having blue eyes? This is different to the second part, because the second part is asking what's the likelihood of them having two children in a row with blue eyes. The third part is simply asking, does the previous child have any bearing on any future children? And the answer to that is no. Regardless of the genotype of the previous child, it doesn't influence the chance of the second child. So, if I can just get this to work, there is still, regardless of whether the first child has had blue eyes or brown eyes, there is still, with these two parents, there is still a 1 in 4 chance of the next offspring having blue eyes. So the answer to that one is 1 in 4, or 25%.